Good morning, students. Today, in our previous class, I had mentioned about the geographical settings of the Islamic land. I talk about the in the western part of this is the Red Sea, and in the southern parts of the Arab, we have seen that here is a Arabian Sea, and in the western part of the this geographical setting or Islamic lands is the in the eastern part the Persian Gulf situated. The students now and one I had already mentioned that Bedouins a role in they were the tribes and the nomads, and though now they moved from one place to other place in quest of the vegetations, in quest of the water or the oasis, and as well as in quest of the fodders for their cattles and for their animals. They now marched and moved from place to place. Understand? So now we have seen that these further now they moved from one place to other place, and they were always in a struggle for the survival. There was a survival of the fittest, and these tribals now moved from one place to the other place, and they had sometimes often got into the conflict with the settled people who had the agricultural occupations. They were the had the and moreover, and it is worth mentions that especially in Hijaz we see that there were a number of spots where rainfall was more regular, and the water and the where the springs and wells provided the sufficient water for irrigation. So now there were certain part in the and particularly in the southeast, we see that where the rainfall was rather regular. Understand? In comparison to the other desert part of the Arab, regular, and the water was rather available for the tribes and for these Bedouins the tribes. Water was available, and as well as the fodder, and moreover the people's certain kind of some peoples were now engaged in the agricultural work there, and in this way there were limited possibilities for the cultivations grain together with the date palms. Some of the limited possibility of the agriculture was uh, uh, expected there. The possibility was there, like the some of the agriculture, particularly was the date palm fruits, vegetables, or such settlements were often targeted Bedouins trade. But these settlements where the people uh, had the regular getting the regular rain for their agriculture, but these places were threatened by the by fits and starts. Bedouins used to attack upon them. They used to make their raids upon to capture the camels, capture their cattle, and as well as capture their produce. So for that, so a struggle was for the existence was still going on, and moreover, uh, particularly such settlements were often targets the Bedouins raids or Bedouins in order to augment their resources. They wanted to augment their resources. It means that augment means they wanted to collect it, and they gather more animals, and as well as one day they used to just capture the animals, and as well as the produce. They seize the whatever the produce they found there by their readings in the course of their readings. So they and they wanted to just augment their resources through this way, and often took the raid or against the neighboring Bedouins, or sometimes the Bedouins had their conflict within their groups. Means that now Bedouins used to attack on the Bedouins, understand, or they this was a tribal conflict for the resources and for their yeah, might have been the calculation of the area, the movement of area. They would have been just wanted to say determined and wanted to settle, understand. So that's why this raids was the raid, and the a conflict amongst these tribal groups was inevitable, because there was a question of the survival of the fittest there. Understand? Under this kind of the circumstances, the Bedouins were naturally involved in the wars and often took the raids against the neighboring Bedouins also. And moreover, tribes and settled communities. Tribes were not spared, and the settled communities were also not spared by them. Moreover, camel. Camel, you know very well that the in Arabian's life, camels plays the very important role, and the main source of transport and the friend in the need. The camel, no doubt, was the main source of the transportation in Arabian say, desert, and as well as a camel was supposed to be the a friend in the need. Understand? And the dogs is also supposed to be the very loyal friends to the human being. So like that, in similarly, camel in the Arabian's life was very important, played the very important role as a friend or as a source of or as a means of transportations. So this was the, and moreover students, we have here as the sand of the desert. Now you know that the huge amount of the sand was rampant. It was the rampant and everywhere. So because of that, the Bedouins life too had become the dry and dull. So because of the huge amount of the and stretch of the land, sands, uh, uh, sandy lands, stretch of these sandy lands. So these geographical conditions now made the life of the Bedouins very passive and the very dull. Dull. Okay. So now here we see that now as the because of that the climate of the deserts had turned them hard and the cruel. You know that how the geography creates the history. The geography creates the history. How the whatever the culture is now evolved, culture evolved in any part of the regions. How? Because of the geography of that area, which determines the people's food habits, their clothes, their way of life. Understand? So that's why because since the Arab was the full of desert, stage of deserts, so their life of the Bedouins was too hard, or their life was hard pressed life they had to live, a very hard pressed life, or under this hard pressed life they have to they become the very sometimes cruel, because cruelty became the nature, because they had to struggle against the struggle hard against the struggle hard uh, against this geographical conditions or against this hard climate. Moreover, further, they have the social organization of Bedouins was based on the independent tribes. Social organization, they had also the tribal organization, or this organization was based on the independent tribes. Each tribes recognized a common ancestors. Every tribal groups had their own identities. I have to say that, and this identity or their recognitions now came up from their one of the very dominant ancestors. In the name of that dominant ancestors, understand, their community and clans was recognized or identified everywhere. Understand? So this was the Or, however, a small tip on the southwest of this peninsula was sufficient fertile. Some of the southwest, if you see in the map of the Arab, understand here we can see southwest of this southwest, this area. It was the this area was rather fertile and sufficient fertile, and this region particularly popular for its frank incense and the myrrh. It was the thickly populated area, and this southwest area was the thickly populated. Why? Because there was a means of agriculture there, and the production used to be the happened. Understand? Or it provided a sufficient fertility of the land for the production. That's why naturally although the entire and most of the part was desert, and in that deserts some part was the fertile, sufficient fertile. So though naturally the gatherings of the people and people now collected there and they assembled there for the agriculture, and they the number of people settled more here. Understand? So it was the natural, and moreover, the southern Arabians now this was the southern the southern Arabians because of their naval skill. One thing is that now here the southern Arabians, here the southern Arabian coast was Arab was adjacent, and it was the touching the coast of the Arabian Sea. It was so naturally the people residing here and settled here were the just very skilled in the naval, or in the naval navigations, or the naval activities. They were the much skilled and had the, and now establish their authority here, naval skill, and establish their authority in area in the pre-Islamic times. So these people settled here, they had established their dominance in the pre-Islamic age. After the Prophet Muhammad, the Islam came, but before that, the people residing in the Arabian coastal area, understand, so they were very brave, and they now capture. You can see that now the trade and commerce it was under their dominance and under their positions and the control, and moreover they also opened the northern overland trade routes to carry their goods to the fertile crescents. They opened the northern lands for the supply of the goods for the crescent area of the these Arabs or Mediterranean region also. From here, they opened the doors for the trade, and from here the Mediterranean Sea, the trade with the Mediterranean Sea was possible because of their, because they opened the door for there, and they allowed the ships to be the advanced there. Understand? Or actually ships to be the allowed to go there. Understand? So now the Mediterranean Sea, you can see in other words that the Mediterranean trade routes was under their control. Understand? Of the southern, and Aden was here. Aden was one of the best harbor, supposed to be the best harbor in the Arabian Sea. Aden. Or now, moreover, they recruited the North Arabian Bedouins, make sure of the security of the Karma. Now, in the medieval time, the traders used to move from one place to other place, or one market to the other market, or the cities in the Karma, because from the viewpoint of their security, if they would move alone. Understand? So what happened? Alone now they could be the looted on the road. So escape this robbing and killings. They now moved in the karmas, and these karmas security was shouldered by the Bedouins. Bedouins were hired. They were hired security, hired. Their security was hired, and they performed the help the karma uh, karma movements by providing the good security. Understand? So now we can see that very soon, karma cities came into the existence, and as a result, the many of the karma city emerged in the existence, and along with the Western Arabian trade route, or along with the Western Arabian trade routes, many of the karma city began to be the settled. Karma towns, small towns, started to be the settled, and one of these was utmost the important Makkah. One of these Makkah. Makkah was here situated, and it was the on the bank of right the very near to the coast, near to the coast of Red Sea. Red Sea. It was the one of the Karma city which emerged very prominent, and moreover, and later on, Arab culture in the 6th century was largely confined to the Arabian Peninsula, or the culture of this Arabian Peninsula was confined to the Arabs only. It was not spreaded, or it was not spread of elsewhere, and mostly its culture was a little extent. It was extended up to the southern Syria and Mesopotamia. Southern Syria and southern Syria was adjacent to the Arab, Arab, Arab Empire, Arabian countries, and as well as the Mediterranean. It was influenced by a little extent. This area were influenced by the Arabs culture and Arabian culture. The more Arabs were divided into tribes. We know that most of the Arab was dominated, or it was settled by the tribes, and each tribe was had led by a chief known as a Sheikh. Every tribe had its chief, chief known as Sheikh. Chief was known as the Sikh. Chief was the tribal chief was known as a Sheikh, and basically Sheikh was chosen. How he was the chosen, that the on the basis of his personal talent, personal skill, and personal bravery, or personal courage and the wisdom. On that basis, the Sikh were now were just chosen, or you can say thus elected or selected amongst the tribals. Understand? So he had a certain or he had certain qualities inherent, like the generosity, wisdom, or the courage. He should have the every tribal say head Sikh must have the certain qualities inherent, the certain qualities in the courageous man. He should be the and generous man also, and as well as the wisdom of the talent. This there should be the talented, and moreover, but the family of the connections played the vital role in it, and the Sheikh was now you can say the chosen on the basis of the family. Family played the very important role. To which family the Sheikh is belonged to, it was just viewed and considered. From which family. This was just taken under the consideration at the time of the selection, or the selection of the sex. Understand? So now we can say the family background was very much remarkable for that. Moreover, students now played the vital. The Arabs worship the idols, and now it was the some surprising, no? The Arabs were the uh, just used to worship the uh, statue or the idols. Now the in the Islam there is no room for the idol worship. Understand? But the Arabs say in the before the advent of Islam or the emergence of the Islam, they used to worship. They used to worship the just a statue or the idols, idol worshippers, and this is the idols were called as the sanam. Idols known as the sanam, or the shrines where the idols just have been the idols have been the installed. So these were the known as the masjid. Masjid or already been mentioned. Many Arab tribes were now the nomadic. I have already mentioned the Arab tribes. Many of the Arab tribes were the nomadic. They just kept on their movement hither and thither, and they always kept moving in search of, particularly you know very well, in the search of the food and fodders, and for their animals. Some tribes were settled in the cities, and gradually, the time by the passage of the time, some tribes began to settle down in cities, and they mainly practice the trade or the agriculture. They mainly practice the trade and agriculture, and moreover, and Quraysh tribe was the one of the dominant in Makkah. Here we see the Makkah, and the Makkah was had a very, it was the situated on the trade routes. Understand? And the Karma city, it emerged as a Karma city or Makkah. So the Quraysh, one of the tribes, Quraysh, understand? They dominated in the Makkah. Understand? Further, you shall study that the prophets Muhammad belonged to this Quraysh clan, and these Quraysh tribes was in a dominant in Mecca. Kaaba, the most important shrine of the Mecca, the Kaaba and the shrine of the Arabs was also located in Mecca. Now Kaaba, the most important shrine of the Arabs, understand, Arab tribes, was situated in the Makkah, Kaaba. And this city, Kaaba was a cube-like structure. Kaaba means a cube-like structure, and it housed the idols of the deities. And in this cube-like structure, in the Kaaba, understand, the idols were installed. Idols or deities, idols were installed in the Kaaba, and even tribes outside of the Mecca. The tribes from outside of the Mecca used to come here as a pilgrim. This was just developed as a pilgrim's place, and the Kaaba and holy shrines regarded as the holy shrines. And moreover, the made the annual pilgrimage or the Hajj to the Kaaba. Now this the annual pilgrim is called the Hajj. So the Kaaba became the place for the Hajj, annual just visiting to the any important shrine or the place. It is called the Hajj. So the Kaaba became the important place for the Hajj, and the Makkah was situated on the crossroads of the trade routes. Makkah, here you can see in the map, it is the now situated on the crossroad of the trade. Understand? It was the situated and route of the trade, Yemen and Syria. You can see in your book, Yemen and Syria. Understand? So it was situated on the trade routes of the Yemen and Syria. Okay, in the north of the Arab, Syria or Yemen. So here, this and it was the situated. Makkah was situated between that. So Makkah had a very important place from viewpoint of the its trade centers, and as well as the it was developing or the as a emerging as a emerging as a pilgrim place on as a trade centers both. That's why the Makkah now just gained its reputations very quickly, and became the very much important place. And moreover, and the Yemen in its locations further increased its importance. violence was forbidden at the Kaaba. One thing was very important is that the violence was forbidden. Nobody was allowed to having the violence here. Nobody could do the violence here. So the violence was strictly prohibited, and moreover, and all visitors were provided the protection here. Entire visitors and the pilgrims were given the protection, very well protection. No violence was allowed around this, and moreover, and visitors, pilgrims, and the now commerce, pilgrimage, and the commerce provided the opportunity to nomadic to settled here, settled tribes to communicate with the one another and to share their belief and customs. So this pilgrim place and the trade, both this now made a chain of the meetings amongst the different kinds of the tribals groups. Different types of the tribals groups began to come here, started coming, and here they had started the exchanging not only the goods, not only the apart from that that goods they now exchange their exchange their ideas, their issues, they exchange the ideas, their cultures, this their whatever their local culture they exchanged. So this now Makkah became the important place, and the many of the tribals nomad, okay, they began to settle in the Makkah. Many of the nomads now started settling there and communicate with one another, share their beliefs and the customs. Further, now let's come towards the Prophets Muhammad. Prophets Muhammad, we know now Hazrat Muhammad, he is known as the founder of Islam, and his birth was a great incident, a big events in the history of the world, because as the prophets Muhammad now he imparted, or he now delivered his sermons of the Islam, sermons of the Islam. Then after, large number of the people now came under the banner of the prophets Muhammad. Understand? They came under the banner of that, and now the Islam emerged. Basically, this great man, Prophet Muhammad, born in 570 AD in Makkah. He born at Makkah. Understand? Or now in Banu Hasim clan. His name of his clan was Banu Hasim, and of the Quraysh. Banu Hasim or Quraysh. Their clan's name was the Banu Hasims, and they were Quraysh tribes, belong to the Quraysh. And moreover, Quraysh were very dominant in the Makkah. This tribal group was basically very dominant group in the Makkah, and now he was son of, his father's name was Abdullah, and mother's name was Amina. Amina, understand? Or Amina, we can say, or he lost his parents at his very childhood. Now, while he was a little child, so then his parents now, parents now he lost his parents, and moreover, and brought up by his grandfather. His grandfather, his name was the Abd al Mutalib. Abd al Mutalib, his grandfather's name. Abd al Mutalib. Now, but because of his age, he was very old. Now, later on, he also now met death because of the age. And moreover, he came under the care of his uncle Abu Talib. Then after the now the care of the Prophet Muhammad was taken by his uncle Talib, Abu Talib, or Muhammad was very contemplative nature right from his childhood. Now he was a very thoughtful child. He was quite different from others' child, like the Gautam Buddha. Buddha was also at the beginning is he was the from childhood he was a very thoughtful man, thoughtful child, and it was not a matching. So he was also a very thoughtful right from the childhood, and but he could not give his thoughts a concrete shape because of his financial hardship. Now he had to lead his hard life, or because of that he could not give the shape of his thoughts, a shape of a way of his thoughts because he was involved in managing his financial lapses and financial strains. That is why he could not just give, he could not give a vent to his ideas to the world. Understand? So under in the beginning time he had to be the go for a struggle, and perhaps it was the reason that he could not get any education, and because of his hard life, living in hardship, he could not, and the lack of the financial requirements, he could not just get the education, well educated. And on the recommendation of his uncle, he at the age of 20, at the age of 20, he entered the service of a rich widow, in the service of a rich widow named Khadija. He just gone in the service of went in the service of Khadija, a rich widow, and started her helping her in business. And Khadija was highly impressed by the dutifulness, honest, and ability of the prophets Muhammad. She became very much fascinated or impressed by his hard labor and honesty or dutifulness. These qualities of the Prophet Muhammad now, no doubt, impressed her. As a result, what happened? As a the age of the 25, he married 40 years old Khadija. He was 25 and Khadija was at the age of 40. They got into the marriage, and he travels to Syria in connection with the commercial affairs. Now the Prophet Muhammad got opportunity to move different cities different cities in connection with the trade and commerce. He got the opportunity, or here he came in contact with the Jews. Now in the Syria, Jews and the Christians, first time he met the people of Jews and Christians and gained some knowledge of their faith. And then after he got the some of the educations, some of the ideas and the beliefs of the Jews and the Christians. And then after their knowledge and faith, after that the Muhammad became very contemplative around the age of 40. He became very much inclined towards the discover the truth. And more, he would often contemplate in the seclusion in hills. He used to become the very thoughtful, and used to go in the hills or whether in the caves. He used to sit and sit for the meditations, as has already been we have seen that the Arabs of this period were very much Arabians were in this period, they were the much superstitions from the religious point of view. Now superstitions, now the orthodoxy and the dogmas were prevalent in the Arab, most of the Arabians part. So as a result, they worshipped idols and believed in the ghost and spirit. The Arab people had the belief in the, they were idol worship, and they believe in the ghost and spirit, and they were now and many of the superstitions had they were moved by that. And Kaaba in Mecca was their sacred shrine. Kaaba, I have already mentioned, and in the Mecca, where they had the pious shrine, or they worship 360 idols at least. 360 60 idols they worshipped. And this was the very astonishing that 360 as a and the in Kaaba they particularly worship the black stones. They worship the black stones, idols made of black stones. Understand? So this beliefs was prevalent before the advent of Islam in the Kaaba and Makkah. Okay, students. The next step further, we shall proceed our study in the next class. Thank you very much for attending the class.